The Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, a Mahayana Sutra. Homage to all past, future, and present Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Pachika Buddhas, and Shravakas. Bodhisattva at ease in majestic virtue. Then the Bodhisattva at ease in majestic virtue rose from his seat in the midst of the assembly, prostrated himself at the feet of the Buddha, circled the Buddha 3 times to the right, knelt down, joined his palms, and said, O world-honored one of great compassion, for our sake you have extensively clarified the different ways of according with the nature of enlightenment and caused the enlightened minds of the multitude of bodhisattvas to be illuminated. Hearing your perfect voice, we have gained great benefit without cultivation. World-honored one, a great city has 4 gates. People coming from different directions have more than one entrance. Likewise, all bodhisattvas who embellish the Buddha lands and attain Bodhi do so by means of more than one single expedient method. Please, world-honored one, broadly expound to us all the expedient methods and stages, as well as how many types of practitioners there are, so that the bodhisattvas in this assembly and sentient beings in the Dharma ending age who aspire to the Mahayana may quickly attain enlightenment and roam and play in the Tathagata's ocean of great quiescent extinction. Having said these words, he prostrated himself on the ground. He made the same request 3 times, each time repeating the same procedure. At that time, the world-honored one said to the bodhisattva at ease in majestic virtue, Excellent, excellent, virtuous man, for the benefit of the multitude of bodhisattvas and sentient beings in the Dharma ending age, you have asked the Tathagata about such expedient methods. Listen attentively now. I shall explain it to you. Hearing this, the bodhisattva at ease in majestic virtue was filled with joy and listened silently along with the assembly. Virtuous men, unsurpassable, wondrous enlightenment pervades all 10 directions. From it arise the Tathagatas in all dharmas, which are equal and identical to one another and of the same substance. Likewise, the various methods of cultivation are, in reality, not different from one another. Though there are countless expedient methods for becoming attuned to the nature of enlightenment, if one categorizes them according to their different natures, there are 3 kinds. Virtuous men, if, after awakening to pure, complete enlightenment, bodhisattvas with pure, enlightened minds engage in the cultivation of stillness, they will cleanse and settle all thoughts, becoming aware of the agitation and restlessness of consciousness. They will cause the wisdom of stillness to manifest. Their bodies and minds, which will be realized as adventitious gas and dust, will be permanently extinguished. Inwardly, they will experience lightness and ease in quiescence and stillness. Because of this quiescence and stillness, the minds of all Tathagatas in all 10 directions will be revealed like reflections in a mirror. This expedient is called shamatha. Virtuous men, if after awakening to pure, complete enlightenment, bodhisattvas with pure, enlightened minds realize the nature of mind and realize that the 6 sense faculties and sense objects are illusory projections. They will then generate illusion as a means to eliminate illusion, causing transformations and manifestations among illusions. They will enlighten illusory sentient beings. By generating illusions, they will experience lightness and ease in great compassion. All bodhisattvas who practice in such a manner will advance gradually. That which contemplates illusion is different from illusion itself. Nevertheless, contemplating illusion is itself an illusion. When all illusions are permanently left behind, the wondrous cultivation completed by such bodhisattvas may be compared to the sprouting of seeds from soil. This expedient is called samapatti. Virtuous men, if after awakening to pure complete enlightenment, bodhisattvas with pure enlightened minds grasp on to neither illusory projections nor states of stillness, they will understand thoroughly that both body and mind are hindrances. Awakening from ignorance, their minds will be illuminated. Without depending on all sorts of hindrances, they will permanently transcend the realms of hindrance and non-hindrance and make full use of the world as well as the body and mind. They will manifest in the phenomenal world without any obstructions, just as the sound of a musical instrument can travel beyond the body of the instrument. Vexations and nirvana will not hinder each other. Inwardly, they will experience lightness and ease in quiescent extinction. They will accord with the realm of quiescent extinction in wondrous enlightenment, which is beyond the reach of body and mind and the reach of self and others. All sentient beings and all life are only drifting thoughts. This expedient method is called dhyana. Virtuous men, these three Dharma methods are intimately in accordance with complete enlightenment. Tathagatas in all 10 directions accomplish Buddhahood through these means. The myriad expedient methods used by bodhisattvas in all 10 directions, whether similar or different, depend on these three activities. At the perfect actualization of these practices, one accomplishes complete enlightenment. Virtuous men, if in his practice on the holy path, a person teaches, delivers, and succeeds in guiding hundreds of thousands of millions of people into arahatship and pachika Buddhahood, he cannot be compared with someone who, upon hearing these Dharma methods of the unhindered complete enlightenment, practices accordingly for even an instant. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to clarify his meaning, proclaimed these gathas.
Majestic virtue, you should know that the unsurpassable mind of great enlightenment is intrinsically non-dual. Even though the various expedients that accord with it are limitless in number, the teachings of the Tathagata are altogether three in kind. Quiescent and still in samatha, the mind is like a mirror reflecting mirrored images. Samapatti, wherein all is seen as an illusion, is like a bud growing gradually. Dhyana is quiescent extinction, yet its functions are like the sound of a musical instrument. These three wondrous Dharma methods are all in accordance with enlightenment. The Tathagatas in all 10 directions and the great Bodhisattvas achieve Buddhahood through them. Perfect actualization of these three is called ultimate nirvana.
Bodhisattva of sound discernment. Then the Bodhisattva of sound discernment rose from his seat in the midst of the assembly, prostrated himself at the feet of the Buddha, circled the Buddha 3 times to the right, knelt down, joined his palms and said, O world-honored one of great compassion, such Dharma methods are rare indeed. World-honored one, how many approaches are there in the Bodhisattva's cultivation of these 3 expedient methods towards the gate of complete enlightenment. For the sake of this assembly and the sentient beings in the Dharma ending age, please expediently teach us so that we may be awakened to absolute reality. Having said these words, he prostrated himself on the ground. He made the same request 3 times, each time repeating the same procedure. At that time, the world-honored one said to the Bodhisattva of sound discernment, Excellent, excellent, virtuous man, for the benefit of the assembly and sentient beings in the Dharma ending age, you have asked the Tathagata about such practices. Listen attentively now. I shall explain it to you. Hearing this, the Bodhisattva of sound discernment was filled with joy and listened silently along with the assembly. Virtuous men, being pure, the complete enlightenment of all Tathagatas is originally without cultivation and cultivator. All bodhisattvas and sentient beings in the Dharma ending age, while unenlightened, rely on illusory effort in their cultivation. Thus, there are 25 kinds of pure samadhis. If bodhisattvas engage only in utter stillness, through the power of stillness, they can permanently sever vexations and accomplish the ultimate. Without arising from their seats, they enter nirvana. These bodhisattvas solely practice samatha. If bodhisattvas engage only in contemplating all things as being like an illusion, through the power of the Buddhas, they can transform and manifest things in the world into all sorts of functions and fulfill all their pure, wondrous practices as bodhisattvas. While maintaining dharani, they do not lose mindfulness in quiescence, nor do they lose wisdom derived from stillness. These bodhisattvas solely practice samapati. If bodhisattvas engage only in extinguishing illusions without getting involved in functions, they will singly sever all vexations. When vexations are completely severed, they will actualize absolute reality. These bodhisattvas solely practice dhyana. If bodhisattvas first engage in utter stillness, and then with the wisdom mind begotten by stillness, clearly illuminate all illusions and perform bodhisattva deeds, they practice samatha first, followed by samapati. If bodhisattvas with the wisdom begotten by stillness fully actualize the nature of utter stillness, and then sever vexations and transcend birth and death permanently, they practice samatha first, followed by dhyana. If bodhisattvas with the wisdom begotten by quiescence and stillness manifest the power of illusions and create all sorts of transformations and manifestations for the purpose of liberating sentient beings, after which they sever vexations and enter quiescent extinction. They practice samatha first, followed by samapati, ending in dhyana. If bodhisattvas with the power of utter stillness sever vexations and then perform the wondrous pure practices of a bodhisattva to liberate sentient beings, they practice samatha first, followed by dhyana, and ending in samapati. If bodhisattvas with the power of utter stillness sever the vexations in the mind, liberate sentient beings and establish the world, they practice shamatha first, followed by both samapati and dhyana. If bodhisattvas with the power of utter stillness as a support generate transformations and manifestations and then sever vexations, they practice both samatha and samapati first, followed by dhyana. If bodhisattvas with the power of utter stillness as a support attain quiescent extinction, then give rise to functions in manifesting in and transforming the world, they practice both samatha and dhyana first, followed by samapati. If bodhisattvas with the power of transformations and manifestations to accord with all sorts of sentient beings, then attain utter stillness, they practice samapati first, followed by samatha. If bodhisattvas with the power of transformations and manifestations create various realms, then attain quiescent extinction, they practice samapati first, followed by dhyana. If bodhisattvas with the power of transformations and manifestations first perform Buddha works, then peacefully abide in quiescence and stillness, and then sever vexations, they practice samapati first, followed by samatha, ending in dhyana. If bodhisattvas with the power of transformations and manifestations perform bodhisattva functions without hindrances, then sever vexations and peacefully abide in utter stillness, they practice samapati first, followed by dhyana, ending in samatha. If bodhisattvas with the power of transformations and manifestations expediently perform bodhisattva functions, then accord with utter stillness as well as quiescent extinction, they practice samapati first, followed by both samatha and dhyana. If bodhisattvas with the power of transformations and manifestations give rise to bodhisattva functions to engage in utter stillness, then sever vexations, they practice both samapati and samatha first, followed by dhyana. If bodhisattvas with the power of transformations and manifestations as a support cultivate quiescent extinction, then abide in the pure, uncontrived stillness, they practice both samapati and dhyana first, followed by samatha. If bodhisattvas with the power of quiescent extinction give rise to utter stillness and abide in purity, they practice dhyana first, followed by samatha. If bodhisattvas with the power of quiescent extinction give rise to bodhisattva functions, yet accord with both quiescence and functions in all circumstances, they practice dhyana first, followed by samapati. If bodhisattvas with the power of quiescent extinction abide in the contemplation of stillness amidst the distinct nature of all phenomena, then give rise to transformations and manifestations, they practice dhyana first, followed by samatha, ending in samapati. If bodhisattvas with the power of quiescent extinction from the uncontrived intrinsic nature of all dharmas give rise to the function of manifesting pure realms, then return to the contemplation of stillness. They practice dhyana first, followed by samapati, ending in samatha. If bodhisattvas with the power of quiescent extinction, with various purities, abide in stillness, yet give rise to transformations and manifestations, they practice dhyana first, followed by both samatha and samapati. If bodhisattvas with the power of quiescent extinction as a support, engaging in utter stillness, then give rise to transformations and manifestations, they practice both dhyana and samatha first, followed by samapati. If bodhisattvas with the power of quiescent extinction as a support, engaging in performing transformations and manifestations, then give rise to utter stillness and pure luminous wisdom, they practice both dhyana and samapati, followed by samatha. If bodhisattvas with the wisdom of complete enlightenment perfectly harmonize all dualities and never depart from the nature of enlightenment, in relating to the diverse Dharma natures of phenomena, they are perfect in the threefold practice of according with the intrinsic nature of pure samadhi. Virtuous men, these are called the 25 practices of bodhisattvas. All bodhisattvas practice in this way. If bodhisattvas and sentient beings in the Dharma ending age wish to rely on these practices, they should uphold practices of purity, quietly contemplate, and wholeheartedly repent. At the end of 21 days, after placing a numbered tally for each of the 25 methods, they should wholeheartedly pray and seek divination by picking a tally at random. The number picked will indicate whether the method is gradual or sudden. However, a single thought of doubt or regret will cause them to fail in accomplishment. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to clarify his meaning, proclaimed these gathas.
Sound discernment. You should know that the unhindered, pure wisdom of all bodhisattvas arises from samadhi, the so-called samatha, samapati, and dhyana. The gradual or sudden practice of these threefold dharma has 25 variations. All Tathagatas in the 10 directions and the practitioners in the past, present, and future achieve Bodhi through this dharma, with the only exceptions being those of sudden enlightenment and those who do not follow the dharma. All bodhisattvas and sentient beings in the dharma ending age should ever practice diligently in accordance with these methods. Relying on the Buddha's power of great compassion, they will before long attain nirvana.
Bodhisattva cleansed of all karmic obstructions. Then the Bodhisattva, cleansed of all karmic obstructions, rose from his seat in the midst of the assembly, prostrated himself at the feet of the Buddha, circled the Buddha 3 times to the right, knelt down, joined his palms, and said, O world-honored one of great compassion, you have broadly expounded to us such inconceivable things as the practices of all Tathagatas of the causal ground, and have caused the assembly to gain what they have never had before. Having seen the Buddha's arduous toil through kalpas as innumerable as the grains of sand of the Ganges, and his efforts in practice unfold as if they were in but an instant of a thought, we bodhisattvas feel deeply fortunate and joyous. World-honored one, if the intrinsic nature of this enlightened mind is pure, what caused it to be defiled, making sentient beings deluded, perplexed, and unable to enter it. Pray let the Tathagata thoroughly expound and reveal to us the nature of dharmas, so that this assembly and sentient beings in the Dharma ending age may use your teaching as a guiding vision in the future. Having said these words, he prostrated himself on the ground. He made the same request 3 times, each time repeating the same procedure. At that time, the World-Honored One said to the Bodhisattva, cleansed of all karmic obstructions, "Excellent, excellent, virtuous man, for the benefit of this assembly and sentient beings in a Dharma ending age, you've asked the Tathagata about such expedient methods. Listen attentively now. I shall explain it to you." Hearing this, the Bodhisattva, cleansed of all karmic obstructions, was filled with joy and listened silently along with the assembly. Virtuous men, since beginningless time, all sentient beings have been deludedly conceiving and clinging to the existence of self, person, sentient being, and life. They take these 4 inverted views as the essence of a real self, thereby giving rise to dual states of like and dislike. Thus, based on one delusion, they further cling to other delusions. These 2 delusions rely on each other, giving rise to the illusory paths of karma. Because of illusory karma, sentient beings deludedly perceive the turning flow of cyclic existence. Those who detest the turning flow of cyclic existence deludedly perceive nirvana and hence are unable to enter the realm of pure enlightenment. It is not enlightenment that thwarts their entering. Rather, it is the idea that there is one who can enter. Therefore, whether their thoughts are agitated or have ceased, they cannot be other than confused and perplexed. Why is this? Because the original arising ignorance has been falsely perceived as one's own master since beginningless time. Therefore, all sentient beings are unable to give rise to the wisdom eye. The nature of their bodies and minds is nothing but ignorance. This ignorance, which does not eliminate itself, may be illustrated by the example of the man who does not take his own life. Therefore, you should know that people get along with those who like them and resent those who contradict them. Because like and dislike nurture ignorance, sentient beings always fail in their pursuit of the path. Virtuous men, what is the sign of the self? It is that which is experienced in the minds of sentient beings. Virtuous men, for instance, when a man's body is well coordinated and healthy, he forgets about its existence. However, when his 4 limbs are sluggish and his body unhealthy and unregulated, then, with the slightest treatment of acupuncture and moksha, he'll become aware of the existence of the self again. Therefore, the self manifests when experience is felt. Virtuous men, even if this man's mind experienced the realm of the Tathagata and clearly perceived pure nirvana, it would be but the phenomena of the self. Virtuous men, what is the sign of the person? It is that which is experienced in the minds of sentient beings. Virtuous men, he who awakens to the self no longer identifies with the self. This awakening, which is beyond all experience, is the mark of the person, virtuous man. Both what is awakened to and the awakening are not the self. Thus, even if this man's mind were perfectly awakened to nirvana, it would be but the self, because as long as there is even the slightest trace of awakening or striving in the mind to realize the principle, it would be the sign of the person. Virtuous man. What is a sign of sentient beings? It is the experience which is beyond self-awakening, and it is that which is awakened to in the minds of sentient beings. Virtuous man. If, for example, a man says, I am a sentient being, we know that what he speaks of as sentient being refers neither to himself nor to another person. Why is he not referring to his self? Since this self is sentient being, it is not limited to his self. Since this self is sentient being, therefore it is not another person's self. Virtuous man. The experiences and awakenings of sentient beings are all traces of the self and the person. In the awakening beyond the traces of the self and person, if one retained the awareness of having realized something, it would be called the sign of sentient beings. Virtuous man. What is a sign of life? It is a mind of sentient beings that illuminates purity, in which they are aware of what they have realized. Karmic consciousness and wisdom cannot perceive themselves. This is comparable to the root of life. Virtuous man. When the mind is able to illuminate and perceive enlightenment, it is but a defilement, because both perceiver and perceived are not apart from defilement. After ice melts in hot water, there is no ice to be aware of its melting. The perception of the existence of the self-enlightening itself is also like this. Virtuous man. If sentient beings in the Dharma ending age do not understand these four characteristics of the self, even after cultivating the path diligently for many kalpas, it is still called practicing with attachments, and they will not be able to accomplish the fruition of sainthood. Therefore, this is called cultivating the true Dharma in the Dharma ending age. Why? Because they mistake the various aspects of the self for nirvana and regard their experiences and awakenings as accomplishments. This is comparable to a man who mistakes a thief for his own son. His wealth and treasure will never increase. Why? Because if one grabs onto the self, one will also grasp onto nirvana. For him, the root of grasping onto the self is merely suppressed, and seemingly there is the appearance of nirvana. If there is one who hates the self, one will also have hatred for birth and death, not knowing that grasping is the real source of birth and death. Hatred for birth and death is also not liberation. How does one recognize the Dharma of non-liberation? Virtuous man. If sentient beings in the Dharma ending age, while cultivating Bodhi, have partial actualization of complete enlightenment, and think they are already pure, then they have not exhausted the root of the trace of the self. If someone praises his Dharma, it gives rise to joy in his mind, and he wants to liberate the praiser. If someone criticizes his achievement, that gives rise to hatred in his mind, Thus, one can tell that his attachment to the phenomenon of the self is strong and firm. This self is hidden in the storehouse consciousness. It wanders in the sense faculties and has never ceased to exist. Virtuous men, these practitioners, because they do not eliminate the phenomena of self, cannot enter the realm of pure enlightenment. Virtuous men, if one actualizes the emptiness of the self, there will be no one there who can slander the self. When there is a self who expounds the Dharma, the self has not been severed. The same holds true for sentient beings and life. Virtuous men, sentient beings in the Dharma ending age, speak of illness in their practice as the Dharma. They are pitiable people. Though diligent in their practice, they only increase their illness and are consequently unable to enter the realm of pure enlightenment. Virtuous men, because sentient beings in the Dharma ending age are not clear about these four signs of the self, when they take the Tathagata's understanding and conduct to be their own practice, they will never reach accomplishment. Some claim that they have had actualizations, though they have not. Some claim that they have had realizations, though they have not. When they see others more advanced than themselves, they become jealous. Because these people have not severed their grasping onto the self, they are unable to enter the realm of pure enlightenment. Virtuous men, sentient beings in the Dharma ending age, who wish to accomplish the path, should not seek awakening through increasing their knowledge by listening to the Dharma. This will only further strengthen their view of the self. Instead, they should strive to diligently subdue their vexations. They should generate great courage to attain what they have not attained and sever what they have not severed. In all circumstances, they should not give rise to craving, hatred, attached love, arrogance, flattery, crookedness, envy, and jealousy. Then the affection and grasping between the self and others will be extinguished. When they can do this, the Buddha says that they will gradually reach accomplishment. Furthermore, they should seek good teachers so that they will not fall into erroneous views. However, if they give rise to hatred and love in their minds while seeking a good teacher, they will be unable to enter the ocean of pure enlightenment. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to clarify his meaning, proclaimed these gathas.
Cleanse of all karmic obstructions. You should know that sentient beings, because of their attachment to and love of self, have been bound in the illusory, turning flow of cyclic existence since beginningless time. Without severing the four signs of the self, Bodhi will not be attained. With the mind harboring love and hatred, and thoughts carrying flattery and crookedness, one is full of confusion and perplexity, and cannot enter the citadel of enlightenment. To return to the realm of enlightenment, desire, anger, and delusion must first be eliminated. When attachment to the Dharma of Nirvana no longer exists in the mind, one can gradually reach accomplishment. This body is originally non-existent, so how can love and hatred arise? A practitioner should also seek a good teacher so as not to fall into erroneous views. If hatred and love arise in the quest, he will not accomplish enlightenment.